Hello everybody, Joshua Rudd here. I was just thinking about if I could choose where I wanted to live in the world and if I could stay there, maybe not for the rest of my life, but for quite a bit of my life. I was thinking the best place for me, since it's probably one if not my favourite city, would have to be London. As you can see here, the London tube map. It's got two tube maps in it. Well, not tube maps. One's a bus. One's a bus one. Once I get it open, here we are. I don't know if you can see that properly, but it's a bus map for the London Central area, I guess you could say. Then we've got the once this decides to work as well. Fuck. I need to get a new one now because of water. Give me a second. I'm basically destroying my tube map. So here is the tube map for London Underground. As you can see, this is pretty big when you think of it. I got this in 2017 and it shows all the lines, well, around at the time. And the first train station we ever used when we were in London, me and my family in 2017, was Heathrow Terminal 5. Then we went to, where was it? I think it was Green Park, I think it was, yeah. Then we transferred to the Victoria line, I think, and basically just went to a hotel there. But we did at least at one stage go to one of my favourite, well, not favourite, but one of the tube stations I've been wanting to go to since I heard about a disaster happening there. It was the King's Cross St Pancras, basically the busiest tube station interchange in the whole of the London Underground. And we went there once, I think I was on the Victoria line, and basically just used that for just to get out for a bit. I did also want to see Moorgate train station as well in London, which I can't remember what line that was on, but you know, because a disaster happened there in February 28, 1975, I think it was. So, but yeah, like I said, if I had to live in a famous city, I guess you could say, it would have to be the London city, because London, excuse me, probably would have to be my favourite city to live in, followed probably by Paris, then here in Perth, then probably the last country I probably ever want to live in, just in my opinion, honesty, would have to probably be America. Now, I'm not saying I hate America whatsoever, it's just that would probably, in my opinion, just be the last country in particular I'd want to live in. But if I ever did end up living in America, probably one of the only cities, I guess you could say, I'd like to live in would have to be New York City, which I'm sure all of you might know is the city that never sleeps. And I just, like I said, if I had to choose famous cities, maybe even countries, maybe, the UK would probably have to be my first one. London first, then maybe Scotland, then Paris, then Perth if I wasn't still living here, because Perth is still probably my favourite city. I'll still love to live here, but it would be nice, honesty, to like stay in London for maybe a year and see what it's like living there for a year. And also, I'd like to possibly live in Scotland for a year. Since I've got family in the UK and Scotland, I was thinking, for my opinion, it would be nice to live there for a year, maybe 2 years. 1 year in Scotland and 1 year in London. Then I might like to live in Paris. I'm not saying all these cities are probably the best place to live, but if I love living here in Perth, and it would be nice also it would also be nice to live in New York City for so long, maybe, because I'm sure as some of my friends who actually subscribe to my channel, I'm sure some of you are, who are my friends. I'm sure I'm a bit of a transport lover. I honestly, if I went to these cities, I'd probably be spending time on the train, time on the bus, as the buses and the trains, maybe the boats, like the ferry as we call it here, and yeah, just spend some time in like those cities and just spend time just wandering around, seeing what the city looks like, and basically everything else really, just because it's probably probably one of the best places to live in my opinion. Like I said, probably the number one place I'd love to live if I wasn't living here in Perth, Australia. I'd have to probably pick London as probably my number one choice to live. Like I said, not for the rest of my life, but just for most of it. Then probably go over to places for like holidays or something. And then probably my second place I'd probably want to live in, would probably be Scotland, because I am a bit of a Scottish person. I do have Scottish accents in me. I know some of you probably want me to speak Scottish right now, but not really like wanting to at the moment. So some of you have probably heard me speak Scottish before, some of my friends. But I've spoken Scottish, but yeah, I also want to live in Scotland because I like the kilts there, and I like bagpipes, and sometimes, for my opinion, that might be the only place I can see like bagpipes and kilts, probably at least so many times a day, almost everywhere I went if I lived in Scotland. So depending, like if I stayed home or if I went out. And honestly, if I actually had my own kilt or kilts, I would probably wear them almost every single day, really. Um, and yeah, basically that's just me, in my opinion. So, and New York City would be one of those cities I would like to live in too, because, well, it's the city that never sleeps, basically. So, you know, it's just one of those cities I would also like to travel on because of the subway there, and also like I would love to live in every, like, maybe not live, but maybe like go to every single, like, maybe city in the world, or maybe places like that who like have a lot of buses, a lot of trains and stuff, and just catch it and just see what it's like catching the trains and the buses and that. So, excuse me, it would be nice for me because, as I said before in my video just now, that I am a transport lover. I do like my transport. Probably my favourite mode of transport, at least now, would probably have to be the buses, then followed by the trains, then maybe followed by the boats, then probably the planes, then maybe helicopters as like maybe a private get around place or something, just in like the local, like nearby areas, like probably maybe between Perth City and somewhere nearby, and stuff like that. So if I just had to stay in just one place for the rest of my life, maybe I'd have to stay in Perth, then maybe just go to London and Scotland and maybe New York City for holidays, or maybe just a once a year visit, or one full year to visit and live with my family in Scotland, and basically just enjoy my time there. So, and like I said, if I could and if I would, I'd probably like bring back souvenirs as well, and maybe show it on YouTube as well. So, as you saw here, this was one of the souvenirs I got back from Scotland. So let me just get another souvenir or two. This was also excuse me. This was also another souvenir I got from London. Was, as you can see, the tube map and the overground and whatnot. So this was just another souvenir I got. And probably the last souvenir I got when I was over in the United Kingdom was a lovely little pocket watch. Here's a closer look. I know this camera is not so good picking up and it's a bit blurry, but it still works. And as you can see, it comes with its own little lanyard thing. Get this undone, you press a little button which is here. Sorry, I'm moving it there. Press that down and it shows a little watch on the inside. Now it's not working because I probably pressed the little button to open it too much, or the battery just ran out. But yeah, this used to be a lovely little souvenir and pocket watch that I even brought to school when I was back at Kalamunda. So, but it's one of those little souvenirs that I have really found it interesting. Now, if I was to pick a city in Australia, my city would have to probably be Sydney to live in. Then maybe Melbourne. Then just if I wasn't living anywhere else in the world, it would probably have to just be here in Perth. But WA is probably the best country not best country, best state in the world, in my opinion, because, well, I live here, so, but, if I had to pick a favourite airport in the world, it'd probably have to be Perth then. But what do you think? If you weren't living, let's say, here in Perth, like I'm sure most of my viewers are, then where in the world would you live? Even if you'd live in your own state, just somewhere else, where would you live? Because like I said, I'd like to live in London and Scotland and Paris. Those are just the three main cities I'd like to live in. But, if you were living anywhere in the world, like I said, where would you live, and maybe why would you live there as well? Like I said, why I'd like to live in London in particular is because of the tube, and the tube is the London Underground basically and stuff. So, but like I said, why, when and why, why would you really want to go to a specific city to live in, or a specific country to live in? And also, why and where would you live in that country or city? So comment down below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.